Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have a really quite interesting beer for you from a very interesting brewery actually. I really enjoyed doing the research on this one when I was making the notes for the video. But we're going to go to Finland for this one, and it's quite hard to get Finnish beer even here in Sweden, as I'm sure you can imagine. But this is actually a very well known Finnish beer. So we're going to go to Kerava in southern Finland and visit Sinebrychoff, and tonight we're having a taste of their porter beer. It's actually very highly rated. It comes in at 99 on Rate Beer and also 99 on Beer Advocate as well, and those sites very rarely lead you wrong in the beers. But it's a 7.2% Baltic porter, and it should be a very nice beer for us to review. Very much looking forward to this one. But as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual website links are in the video description for you below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Sinebrychoff, and there's all the usual social media things, the Facebook, the Twitter and the Untappd. Feel free to get in contact with me through whatever means you wish. Always interesting to hear from you guys watching the videos, but to my Finnish viewers I will apologise in advance when I undoubtedly will screw up some of the pronunciations in this video. This Finnish language is probably one of the most difficult ones to learn in Europe, if not the world. Very difficult language to pronounce properly, but what I will ask is that you do let me know some other Finnish beers that you'd like me to have a look at. One of my classmates may actually be able to work as my mule in getting me some Finnish beer over Christmas, so hopefully I can do some more kind of Finnish craft beers for you fairly soon. But anyway, to tell you about the story of Sinebrychoff. So Sinebrychoff started when Pyotr Sinebrychoff, who was a Russian copyholder, set out with his family from the town of Gavrilov on the outskirts of Moscow. Now he, his wife Marva and their 6 sons and 3 daughters moved to Kymi in Finland, and soon Pyotr began to work in the Ruotsinsalmi fortress on the island of Kortkinsari, where he ran a canteen and brewed beer for the soldiers there. So Pyotr's son Nikolai was only 16 years old when his father died, and he took over his father's company, which at the time consisted of a sawmill, a building contractors and a beer brewery. But Nikolai actually grew the business massively, and under his tenure he moved the company to Viborg, and this was following the Ruotsinsalmi regiment there. But in 1817 he actually purchased the Liljanlinna distillery in Helsinki, and he also purchased the Osterberg brewery in the year 1819, and in August of that same year he actually secured the exclusive right to brew beer for 10 years in Helsinki, and he bought the site to build the Hietalahti brewery, and this began production in the late 1820s, and they stopped their production at Viborg in around 1825 they said. But Nikolai continued to live in Viborg while directing his now considerable business operations from his home. So Nikolai's brother Paul took over the brewery from his brother sometime in the 1860s, and he actually built a porter brewery and switched the brewing process from top to bottom fermentation, and he actually owned a number of shops, the largest shipyard in Helsinki, a very large hotel as well, some farms, and he also expanded the company's network quite considerably using his connections, and he served on the city council as well and was known for the paternalistic treatment of his employees, and he was actually one of the first in Finland to establish a pension scheme for his workers, and he also built rented accommodation for them and founded a school for their children. But sadly Nikolai's brother Paul died in 1883, but he was survived by his wife and 4 children. But luckily when he died, his wife Anna took over the running of the company, and she continued running it in her husband's spirit and became known as the mother of the poor, and she survived 20 years after the death of her husband, serving as the company director with her sons on the board, and she was known as a passionate gardener and actually opened the Sinebrychoff Park to the public during her tenure of the company. So the next company head was Nicholas, who was actually the eldest son of Anna and Paul, and he had a huge interest in shipbuilding, and he was heavily involved in the formation of the yacht clubs around Helsinki, and he built some of the very famous pavilions that you'll find around the city now, and there's actually a very famous sporting cup named after him. But he actually established a hospital for the employees, but his tenure as head of the brewery was very short because he died of tuberculosis in the year 1896. But the company was then run by the Troika, and this was his mother Anna, his brother Paul Jr. and his brother-in-law Emil Kjolefeld. So under Paul the Younger's leadership, the company began to dissociate itself from the production of spirits, and the distillery was closed. This was due to kind of the prohibition laws that were starting to come into place in Finland at this time. But his mother and brother-in-law died in the year 1904, and from then on he led the company fairly independently, and he guided the brewery through the First World War successfully, buying up 2 of his local competitors, and then after the Second World War, he managed to corner the local market and invested in the brewery infrastructure quite heavily. And he also invested heavily in other industries such as banking and shipbuilding, so his personal fortune got pretty damn big, I have to say. But he married actress Fanny Gran, who was a member of the Swedish theatre in Helsinki, and the pair were well known for their charitable deeds and also for being art collectors, and they actually donated their very large art collection to the Finnish government in 1921, which to this day remains the largest art donation to the Finnish government that's ever been, basically. But their marriage produced no children, and thus the family name died out when his sister-in-law Anna died in 1944. But the brewery continued, however. In the 1960s, the company had well over 1,000 employees who actually had a huge variety of trades. You're talking about welders, saddlers, building people, a very, very large company in Finland actually, and when I've told you the story of them, you can see that they did really treat their employees quite well, so a very kind of model company, if you like. But the legacy of the family lives on with Sinebrychoff Park in Helsinki, which is protected by law since 1980, and also very close to this you have the Sinebrychoff Art Museum, which shows you a lot of these things that the family donated to the Finnish government in the 1920s. But the family are also well-known patrons of the Helsinki Orthodox Church as well. But this brewery is actually the oldest one in north of Europe today, and it's actually part of the Carlsberg group, and they brew in Kerava, as I told you at the start of the video. So very, very cool brewery. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of history there. It was a bit of a longer one, but I thought this is a really cool company, so you don't really want to miss much out with these guys. There is a PDF on the website, and I'll put a link in there for you below. I kind of condensed it a little bit, but I hope you enjoyed that nonetheless. But do check it out if you want to read a bit more in depth about the guys who are running the brewery. So the other brands of beer you can actually get from Sinebrychoff are the same brewery, or the Karhu brand of beers. You also get the Koff lagers, and also there's this guy here, the Sinebrychoff Porter, and there are a few other beers brewed under the Sinebrychoff name as well. But as I say, they are part of the Carlsberg group, so it should be fairly easy for you to find this beer. But this was actually the first time I saw it. I had to order it through the Systembolaget online system. But yeah, let's get on to the tasting section of this video now. So this one, as I told you, is a 7.2% Baltic Porter. Very nicely presented actually. You can see the Sinebrychoff horses there with a nice kind of red label there. You can see the horseshoe with the golden horses and the crown. Looks very, very nice. You can see the number 4 on the bottom. I think that's the recipe number, but it's brewer's choice since 1819. Of course, that was when the brewery was founded. Comes in a very nice little bottle. It's a 33 centilitre bottle, brewed and bottled by Sinebrychoff, Kerava, Finland. So yeah, it says para ennen best before, and it actually doesn't say when it's best before. Oh, sorry, the 6th of the 2nd, 2016. So it is in date. Don't drink. It gives you all the usual warnings on the back, and you can see on the top there, this is the Sinebrychoff Porter bottle cap. The light's just reflecting off it a little bit there, but without further ado, let's get stuck into this beer. Really excited to try this one. So this is a 7.2% Baltic Porter from Kerava in Finland. So, as you can see, nice smoky opening there. You can actually really smell the fruity aspects of this beer as we open it up. And that's pouring absolutely beautifully. This is going to be a very nice beer. I can just tell that right away. I've heard very good things about the Finnish craft beer, and when this one, as I say, is rated at 99 on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, you know, this is going to be a pretty damn good beer for us to try. So, as you can see, this beer is poured pretty much a pitch black colour. You know, ebony and rosewood is probably a good way to actually describe the colour of this beer. There's a solid, maybe finger and a half of a frothy beige tan head, but it looks very, very nice. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see there's no transparency to the beer at all. I'll just shine the light over it, but there's a little bit of a ruby tinge to it, but very little. If I put my fingers behind it, there's no transparency to it at all. You can see that at this angle with the camera too, but looks a very nice beer. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. Looks very, very nice, like I say. One or two little bits of sediment, but overall a very, very nice looking beer. So let's have a proper look at the aroma on this one. So, as you would expect from a Baltic Porter beer, you've got a nice dark roasted malt character coming out of this one. It's actually got a big bready feel to it. Nice big kind of brown cereally bread character coming out of this one. There's a lot of sweet chocolate in there, some sweet caramel aspects of this one too. And there is a bit of a kind of licoricey note coming out. And maybe I'm getting a bit of a with the bready character that's in this beer, you can pick up a little bit of a sort of a kind of infused nutty and woody flavour with this one. It's very sweet smelling. and it actually has a bit of a kind of a very slightly meaty roasted character coming out of it, but that's very mild, as I say. I think it's more the kind of bready character and the sweet roasted caramel that's coming out of it. The caramel in this one smells really nice. A bit of licorice in there, a bit of treacle or something like that. But you can also smell a lot of the red fruity esters in this one. There's kind of raisins and plums, the sort of sharper red fruity esters, but you're also getting a bit of the lighter ones, the sort of figs and the more candied fruit aromas from this beer. But it smells very nice. As I always say, before you actually taste these beers, give them a smell and see what you get out of them. But without further ado then, let's actually get stuck into this beer. So this is the Sinebrychoff Porter from Sinebrychoff in Kerava in Finland. Only my second ever Finnish beer review, but meant to be very, very good. So let's see about this. Slanje. Now, that is pretty damn good, I have to say. Beautifully done. And that's even just on the first taste, so let's sugar it around our mouth a little bit and just think about this a little bit more. As I always say, you should let the whole beer go around your palate and just let your palate adjust before you start picking out the individual components of the flavour in this one. Yeah, so much like the aroma here, you've got a nice dark roasted malt character coming out in this one. The middle of your palate is just blanketed with this very light bready character. It's really nice done, a big brown bready feel in this one. It blankets the middle of your tongue, and there's a lot more complexity to the malt base building on top of that. Yeah, there's a very nice sweet character to this malt. There's a bit of sweet caramel coming out on top of there, a bit more of a toasted caramel as well. And I want to say there is a bit of licorice flavour that just kind of lingers in there, but it's not such a sharp licorice. You can just feel it in the middle of the tongue, and there is a kind of lingering, almost lightly coffee flavour in there, just a bit of a dark roasted character. It's almost like a well-fired bread top, if you like. It reminds me of that, these well-fired rolls that we always used to eat on a Sunday back home in Scotland. But yeah, this is a beautiful beer. You can see why it's so highly rated. You know, 99 on Rate Beer, 99 on Beer Advocate as well, and they're not, you know, a beer doesn't get that rating for no reason. Very nice one, very nice one this. If you get the chance, you have to try this. If you like porters, you'll love this one. But yeah, there's a really beautiful sweetness to this beer in the malt base. As I said, light bready blanket across the middle of the tongue, and on top of that you've got the sweet caramel. There's quite a big licorice presence in this one, as I say, and it just gives the beer a really nice, interesting twist. Some sweet caramel there, a bit more of a toasted character to it as well. There is an element, I think, of a nutty or woody flavour that's just blending in there, but there's a lot of sweet chocolate mixing with that slightly licorice flavour in there. At the back corners of the palate you can get a bit of a dry, earthy hop character, and as you move further forward it kind of smooths out a little bit. It's really nice taste in this beer, and just behind the front of the tongue you can get a little bit of the fruity character. Yeah, just behind the very front of the tongue there you'll feel a nice oily bubble, and that's where these red fruity ester flavours are coming out in this beer. Yeah, I want to say the fruity esters that are coming out of this one are a bit more kind of plummy and raisiny. They've got a bit more sharpness to them than the typical kind of figs or candied fruit notes that you can get. These ones are a little bit sharper and a bit more juicy. Really quite nicely done. Yeah, this beer is beautiful. I mean, there's no two doubts about that. It deserves its 99 in every respect. This is an absolutely beautiful beer. If you like porter beers, then this is one you definitely need to try. And the thing that really kind of that makes it stand out is that it is from the Baltic region of Europe. Superb beer this. You will love this. If you love dark beers, there's no question that you need to try this one. Absolutely beautifully done. All the flavours in this blend together really well. The little bit, the malt base in this one just gives you a very good transition over to the smooth hoppy characteristics that are in there. The little bit of dryness in the back corners of the palate from the earthy hops is also really nice, and then the just little fruity juicy character that blends nicely with the sort of sweet licorice kind of chocolatey aspects in the malt base too. You know, you can't fault this beer in any way. It is absolutely beautiful, so if you enjoy the porter beer style, definitely give it a try. But in terms of the mouthfeel, this one, I would say it is mid-bodied, probably pushing the full-bodied category actually. It's got a very smooth carbonation to it, but this is one of the most oily beers that I've actually tried, and you know, for the amount of flavour that this beer has, it really needs it. And the oily character in the beer really helps bring out the sort of, how do you say, it helps bring out the nice licorice flavours, a little bit of the caramel, but also the nice fruity juice character in this beer as well. It's really, really well done. There's a big malty sweetness in this beer, like I said, but there's also a good little bit of a lingering roasted bitter character. There's this slightly kind of well-fired bread flavour in the middle of the tongue, maybe just a little bit of a kind of coffee roastiness to this one as well, but there's a nice smooth hoppy flavour to the beer as well, and everything just blends together really well in this beer. This one, without doubt, really highly deserves that rating of 99 that it's got on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate. You will absolutely love this beer when you try it. Probably the best porter I've ever tried actually, and that's by no means an easy feat. I've tried quite a lot of porters, and I hope you'll take my word for it, having tried probably about 570 odd beers by the time this one publishes. Very, very nice beer this, so do give it a try. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been really cool to return to Finland. As I said, hopefully one of my classmates can act as my mule and bring me some more Finnish beers over Christmas, so hopefully I can do some of the Finnish craft beers for you. This one, despite how good it is, it's not actually a craft beer. It belongs to the Carlsberg group, which is, you know, in one way it's quite surprising, but if they can brew good beer, who cares who the brewery belongs to? But as always, I hope you've enjoyed the beer review. Let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it before. I'd be interested to hear from you guys in Finland as well. Please recommend some other Finnish beers for me to look at. Always interesting to try beers from new places. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer. I hope you've enjoyed the review. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and follow me on the social media. I thank you for watching my beer reviews, and please, as I say, like, subscribe, share, especially you guys in Finland, and I will catch you soon with my next beer review. More to come from Finland, and hopefully more from Sinebrychoff, so go and check them out. Skål!